What's up? It's Mike Mal, and you are listening to the Athletor Podcast, where we dive into the processes, mindsets, strategies of some of the most successful athletes and coaches from all walks of life. Athletor Podcast coming at you. This week's guest is none other than Associate Head Coach at University of Maryland, Nick Brascetta. Have you heard the term rev share being thrown around wrestling and college athletics? Of course you have. Nick Brascetta does the best job of putting this entire rev share NIL thing that you're hearing all about in one box so that you can understand it. Even an idiot like me can understand it. He also goes through exactly how much this is changing from day to day, week to week, month to month. All that and more coming up on the podcast. You don't want to miss this one. Hey, everyone knows that wrestling is 90% mental. We're super excited to have partnered with Wrestling Mindset, the #1 wrestling-specific mindset program in the world. Make sure to sign up at wrestlingmindset.com using promo code Athletor25 for a $500 discount. Stop underperforming and losing to guys that you should beat. Athletor Podcast, back again. Nick Brascetta, Associate Head Coach, excuse me. Nick Brascetta, thank you so much for coming on, brother. I appreciate it.
Yeah, appreciate you. No worries.
All right, let's talk.
Let's do it.
I'll phrase it as best I can. Does the role of associate head coach change from institution to institution?
From institution to institution, I don't know. I presume it's similar across the board. I think now from assistant coach to associate head coach, I feel like it's not like when you get like named that your responsibilities like are directly impacted initially. I think you come in with a certain level of experience, or you've been at a place for a number of years where you know the system and know how things operate and have a relationship with the head coach, and you're able to obviously just do a lot of things. And I think when you spend time in a certain place, obviously being here for this, we just finished year 6, Clemmy and I together. We both came in when McCoy left, and we're the only two that have been here the whole time. I think there's a certain level of comfortableness that you have being here together. So I think that's a trust thing and a relationship thing for one. But also just knowing the system and knowing how things work, being around the sport now. This is going to be my 10th year coaching. So you know how the world operates and the landscape of collegiate athletics. You have some skills, and I think you develop them over time. And I think that's where you find yourself in an associate head coaching role, just with a bunch of responsibilities, whether it's from recruiting or running practice or managing finances that you're working with when it comes to scholarship and rev share for us. And so just in anything in the department, there's things that go on with compliance and with academics. And so you just find yourself with, you're like a Swiss Army knife, with skills that you need across the board. And I think that comes with time. And so I think that's how I landed in that role here. And fortunately, Coach Clemson has, put a lot of faith in me and given me a lot of freedom to do what I do best, I think. And I presume across the country, you would feel that, the head coach is kind of spearheading from a, like a CEO type level. And giving, assistant coaches and associate head coaches a lot of responsibility, and really kind of paving the way for, what they want to outline for, the culture of the program or the direction of the program, the visions, the goals, the fundraising goals. They kind of spearhead that. And I think that's where we come in and, you kind of do the groundwork, you know what I mean? So I would presume that across the country, you're probably looking at, associate head coaches that are, similar, that have been in the game for a while, have a ton of responsibility. Ultimately, the head coach is the guy that's leading everything and in charge. But that there are certain roles, I think, in the head coaching position too, that like you claim and you have, and that doesn't fall on me as much. Like fundraising is a good example. Where I think that comes a ton from the top, and I am an assister there, but that's kind of like his direction, And then,
Well, let me stop you there because we dig into fundraising on this podcast a lot
yeah,
because it's such a big part of the sport right now. When you say you assist, what does that what does that mean?
I think that's just like a development of relationships with, certain donors and certain alumni that are connected to the program. And obviously we have, events and stuff that we help put on, whether it's a golf outing or we've done a poker night and just things like that, where you're maybe like literally just assisting with logistics or
Mhm.
relationship building. I think that's the thing too about associate head coaches. Like you've been now here, I've been here 6 years. Like we have alums that come to the match. Like you're on a first name basis with these guys that you've spent time. Like we had one like part of our auction at our.
Hey, don't go anywhere. It's Mike. We'll get back to the podcast in just a second. We got to pay the bills though. Do you have an athlete that's looking to break into the social media space? We at athletorlive.com have a brand new in-depth tutorial done by none other than Caden Henshaw. If you don't know who Caden is, he's not even a Division I wrestler, yet he's got hundreds of thousands of engaged followers. Learn how to create engaging content, grow your followers, and open up new opportunities in the NIL space. Go to athletorlive.com/Caden and we'll give you the first module completely free.
Our golf outing was a trip with the team, so we had two alums that did that, and they came down to the Tiger Style Invite that we went to. This was 2 years ago now in November down in Kansas City, and so we took them on a trip with us, right? So these two guys that I'm now very close with, they've been around for every event, and they got a different experience, and they got to travel with us and be with our team. So that was, it's like you're just around for long enough where you build relationships with these guys, and I think that's really what fundraising comes down to is the relationships that you have with people, and to be able to produce a vision that they believe in, right? And a program that they once were a part of, or they weren't, right? These are donors or outside people that see the direction of the program, going to golf outings or whatever it is that, meeting, rubbing elbows with people that are in the area that want to support the athletics department in different levels and different capacities. That's ultimately what you're trying to do. And I think that as an assister, it's like just being present, being visible, and talking with these people so that they understand the vision coming from the top, but also the people below that are around that also believe in it, that are working for it and towards it. And, making these guys feel like, we're relatable. We're other people that are, obviously working in college athletics, but um fundraising is definitely a piece of this monster now,
Yeah,
and
no question.
you
Like
have to be able.
it's huge, right? Like I mean, and good on Clemson for what you guys are doing out there because that's a really so I love just me personally, I love innovative, creative ways that some of these guys are choosing to find fundraising opportunities. An auction to travel with the team, that's awesome. Like that's really cool. That like I don't know, guys are probably in their 50s, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Right. So they're probably in their 50s. They're they get to tell their lives like I'm going with Maryland wrestling to the Tiger Style.
It's the ultimate boys trip right there. You know what I mean? So
Yeah. Like it's just a dude's trip
yeah.
with me and my buddy, and we're gonna hang out with the team and pretend like we're college kids again for a second. That's super cool. Have you it may not even be at Maryland. Have you heard of other like creative fundraising like opportunities like that across the board that you've seen?
Yeah, I think that one is especially unique just because of the connection that you have, But I've heard of like tons of campaigns, and departments help with the campaigns and stuff that you put on. Like, people vouch money for pins in a season or whatever it is, and every time your team has a pin, and you get X amount of people that have said they'll give $100 or $500 each pin or whatever it is, and so like yeah, there's a ton, and I think when you're at a department with enough resources and good direction. They understand how to kind of market and campaign those certain things. Like whether it's like accumulating more donors, right? Like if you want a certain number of donors, and making a drive for five or whatever. Like I feel like that's been a campaign for 500 donors in a year or whatever, new donors or whatever it is. I think there's tons of way to do that, but I like the ones where they're somehow connected to the program, because I feel like that's what they need to see and be around to really be invested in the program. Not just from from like a spirit standpoint, from a financial standpoint, to see and meet the kids, right? Like it's interesting because the fundraising is, obviously led by the coaches and stuff, but what you're giving to is really for the kids, right? And the experience that the
Mm-hmm.
student athletes have. And so when you're around the student athletes and the kids that are on the team, and I feel really good about obviously where our team is and the type of character kid that we have, and student that we have, and guy that represents the program the right way. Like I feel really good about that from a whole, like our whole program. And for other people to be around that, I think that's really important. Like in our golf outing that we host too, it's like will put some of the kids in the carts with if they have an empty seat in the cart or whatever, or we'll post some of them up at certain holes, and they're trying to take their money, like double your money type of thing, just to get the kids interacting with the people, because you can give to the head coach per se or the program, but when you know the kid, like you have a connection to maybe it's just one specific kid or a group of kids that you've talked to and you've been around and you feel really good about that. And I think that's another way to really get them, involved and why they want to
Sure.
give.
I mean, it's coming back to relationships, right? Like
Yeah.
we talk like the true commodity, with the exception of a couple places, I think, is the
Yeah.
relationship. Now you said that the athletic administration helps you with your create creating ideas. What does that look like? Do you sit down with a meeting, like a meeting with a bunch of admins? Do you just kind of spitball back and forth like ideas on text? Like how does that kind of come about?
Yeah, it's all. I think we have like an external operations, like meeting every year, if not twice a year, where we sit down with the marketing and their department, and people that spearhead that department are in charge of our sport specifically, and our liaison to that department. And so yeah, that's a an evaluation of it, attendance and how to drive more people at matches, and how to get, a certain campaign for whatever you're trying to get done in that year. They come with ideas, we go with ideas, or we find things that we like on, obviously social media is a big deal, and you send it back and forth. And I think that's just continued communication. The meeting is like the official thing, but I think if you have good people in that department, they come to you with ideas too, and you kind of tinker with it and tweak it for what your goals and your visions are, or just your personality, and trying to get it done with what's right for what your program needs.
Sure. Now, you know, what's interesting to me is you came from a big program at Virginia Tech, and then you moved to UTC,
Hmm.
not the biggest school in the world, not the biggest conference in the world, and now you're back in a big conference like the Big Ten. What's the biggest, like, because you just talked about a marketing department that probably has upwards of 10 to 12 people in it, right?
Hmm.
Something tells me you didn't have that luxury at UTC, right? I
Yeah.
mean, so tell me about the resources that you have at Maryland that you might not have had when you were in Chattanooga.
Yeah, I mean, as simple as people, right? I think that's part of it. Like, I think those departments are smaller in terms of just numbers, and so we like, for example, like so we meet every Monday, every day as a staff, and or every Monday weekly as a staff, and that has like our direct staff, and then that has all of our support staff. So anything from our strength coach, our equipment guy, our trainer, our academics person. We meet weekly so that we're all on the same page, talk about the week, and then some people are dismissed. Then we talk as a staff about the week of training or whatever it is. But in that meeting, like we have a marketing person, we have an SID that is in charge of our our social medias and everything. And then we have like, there's even an intern from the marketing department that their goal for the year is to market the program. And so they come in on the meeting as well. And then we have higher ups in that department as well. In the marketing department that, have the overall vision for the entire athletic department, and then they narrow it down for sports or whatever. So we have a ton of people, right? So I think like one thing that Chattanooga is like, you don't have as much people. You have to do a little bit more legwork, right? You're in a smaller place. That's kind of the nature of the beast at smaller schools.
Oh, we know. We talked to Kyle yesterday.
Yeah. So
He was like, "Yeah, it's just me.
yeah,
It's just me."
that's a perfect example, right? Like Kyle, I think so his wife was helping run some of our Instagram, you know what I mean? And I think she still does.
So, yeah,
And so that you have to get creative. You have to figure out ways to market your program. And we did that down there, and kudos to Kyle. He's done that with the help of Allie. And we came up with different things too. We did like I remember we did a tailgate match when we were down at UTC where we had this like, and it was when Dan Dennis was there. He had this like mobile sauna. It was like a trailer, and you would pull around, but we could like plug it in outside where we were competing. So like we had this trailer. We had like the heat lamps and everything. It was like they tailgated the duel before we wrestled. The weather in Chattanooga obviously allows you to do that a little better than most places, but so it was like it was just another way to get a bunch of people together, a bunch of alums like outside in a setting that most rowdy wrestlers like to enjoy, and then go into the match and watch the match. So it's like it's that was kind of, but we had to do all of that. Like we had to get all the logistics and all the planning and stuff done. Whereas like here, it's like we can just say, hey, this is the idea we have. Our facilities person will make sure that tables, chairs, everything's set up on time where it should be. Whereas like in those days, I was like, hey, how many guys aren't weighing in? We need to set up tables, right? Like we need your help to get this idea done. And so it does change, right? And we still get the help of our athletes here, but like even for
sure.
recruiting weekends, it's like when we're here for recruiting weekends, we just make sure like this is the idea we have, and we communicate everything within the department, facilities, whatever the connections that we have through the department that set up tents, or like we don't do any of that. I don't set up tents anymore. Like maybe I'm spoiled, you know what I mean? But like there was a
Oh, you
time.
bougie now.
Yeah, bougie, right? So my wife says that all the time. So like it's just different in terms of I think like legwork, right? And when you're at a place like this, you have a lot more advantages of just number of people, number of ideas flowing through. Um, and it's helpful. Like I get that. Like I know that there are certain places, and I can say this because I went to UTC and spent time there where I didn't have that luxury, and now I'm on the other side of it. And so I understand um, there's there's an asset to being in a bigger place in a bigger conference and with more resources, but that's capitalism. That's the way the world works, right? Like it's
Sure.
like more resources, bigger department, you get more things, right? Like that's the way business works too, right? So
Yeah.
can't
Well,
fight it.
no, well, okay. We got to shift a little bit because I I don't know that there's one coach that has been able to explain to me rev share.
Yeah.
And maybe I'm just an idiot. Maybe I'm just an idiot. But I don't know that there's one coach that's been able to explain rev share to me exactly. Can
Yeah.
you try?
I could try. It's probably not going to be what you want. It's funny. We were Coach Laird and I, Ethan Laird, we were upstairs. We get our coffee upstairs. We were walking down the stairs and we were talking about something, and I said something about rev share, and one of our associate ADs was walking the other direction, and she just looked at me and said, "Oh, rev share, here we go again. That'll be the death of me, right?" Like so, it's like everyone's talking about it. It's obviously it's no shock that it has a lot of heads turning, and there's just the problem is trying to explain it is we're trying to explain it based off the information we're getting, and that information may change in a week or in 2 weeks or
Changes every day.
so it's like
Nikki, it changes every day.
so that's just probably why like you're getting different answers like the longer
Yeah.
you're asking these
Hmm.
same some of these same questions like over the course of 2 months or whatever it is, and the things have changed, right? Like the house settlement wasn't settled until like what was it, like 2 weeks ago or something.
A week ago or
Yeah.
two. Yeah, yeah.
And it was supposed to be like June 15th or something. And so it's like the date gets pushed, the rules aren't solid, they weren't solidified. They didn't know that, the cap management system they were going to use. They didn't know the audit system they were going to use. That we had ideas of what those were going to look like, but we didn't have anything like solid, right? So until whatever date that the house settlement closed on, like everything before then was just the old rules, right? So it's like now that they've closed the house settlement and they're saying that there's still some things that they were hung up on. It's like, yes, so it's changing. So from like a 30,000 foot view, the rev share is obviously, it's like pay to play. And so for us to have extra resources that are coming in that we can allocate to our student athletes at our discretion, basically as a reward on top of, whatever our scholarship is. So you obviously have your scholarship allotment, which is 9.9 for most of us. I know not all places are there. But for us here, it's not, it's 9.9, and then whatever rev share you get allocated from your department. And then the department has discretion of the $20.5 million of how they wanted to distribute it to the different sports.
Hold on. I'm sorry, I have to stop you there. $20 million is coming from where?
So this is actually what Larry and I were talking about earlier. So this is additional money, right? In some places, whether it's TV deals or whatever revenue that the school is bringing in, right? That they're saying a portion of that is owed to the student athletes, which I agree with. That's how it is. They're the product that are going out. There's no denying what's happening. Like they're the product. They're putting themselves out there. They're competing. The TV deals have gotten a hold of it. The obviously the wealth behind all of that is a real thing, and people were capitalizing on that and not giving that money to essentially its rightful owners, or at least a portion of the rightful owners, right? Which were the student athletes. So there's no denying what's happening. Also, there's no use in fighting it because it is what it is now, right? Like you have to adjust and figure it out. So that money, whatever revenue the school is bringing in, right? They're basically saying this is the dollar amount that we think right now should be distributed to your student athletes, to your student body, right? Those people that are competing. The athletic department can then allocate that how they want. It depends on what sports they want to pour into, how many sports they have. That changes the bucket, right? Obviously, most places, most of those TV deals are coming from people that are viewing football and basketball. Like that's no shock, right? So our sport is a niche sport, and although we're in the Big Ten, we have the Big Ten network and a really good following for our viewership numbers. The money still is going primarily to football and to basketball. That's the way the world works, right? So I think like a rough estimate of what it looks like is basically like 75% to football, and then 15 to basketball, and then 10 is left between women's basketball and the rest of Olympic sports and how they want to pour into them. And so I think that is department dependent. And so some places will probably tell you, yeah, we haven't gotten any rev share. Some places will say we got a little bit of rev share. Some places will say we got more, right? Like that's department dependent and how they
That seems to be the template that I'm hearing. 75% to football. And then you got 15 going to men's basketball. And then the Olympic sports basically eat up the rest of the 10%.
Right.
So I guess what I'm trying, and all that money's coming initially from viewership, or excuse me, from network rights.
Yeah.
And then
Revenue in general. So whatever that's ticket sales or that's merchandise sales, that's TV deals are obviously I think the biggest portion. Sponsorship deals, that's all revenue that's coming into the athletic department that should be shared with the student athletes. And then I think some places, obviously, it's like, where do you come up with the $20.5 million? Like it's 20.5 million. If you go full into rev share, right, you're committing another $20.5 million to your student athletes. So it's really just like that's technically a debt on your asset sheet, right? Like you have to pay out another $20.5 million to your student athletes if you want to keep par, if you want to be competitive. So some people would be like, well, we don't have the 20.5 million like that. But they're still going to dish it out. Right. So to them, it's about how they continue to create revenue that helps with a new $20.5 million expense on the debt sheet, right? On the balance sheet.
Mm.
So
No, that makes all the sense in the world now.
so some people will say, it's like you look at each department, right? I was talking to Laird about this too. It's like, well, your department also is fundraising for or raising money and capital for building a new basketball performance center or whatever it may be, right? So it's just that's another debt, right? That they're trying to supply the money for whatever that facility costs or whatever a new softball facility costs or whatever they're looking at, right? They have to somehow have the revenue and a plan to build those projects. They have to somehow have the revenue and the plan to pay our athletes, right? It's just another expense on top of whatever else the department wants to do, right? So if they want to build a new wrestling facility, that's an expense that they're going to have to raise money for and capital and figure out how to fundraise that project, whether that's debt or whether, long term, whatever. Same thing with the revenue share. So some places may have it all, may not. Some places have
Right.
none of it, you know what I mean? So like, but
And that's where it gets tricky.
if you're
100%.
choosing,
Let's go. Go ahead. Go ahead.
if you're choosing to be in that space and at full capacity of $20.5 million, basically you just need to make sure that the way you're operating your department is allowing for that amount of debt to come in or that amount of expense to come in and what that means for the department's revenue total and if it covers it or if do you have to fundraise and
Sure. Makes sense. Okay. Now let's bring it down to street level. I have an athlete coming out of high school that wants to go to Maryland. You then say to them, okay, let's say A+ student, top 3 kid in the country wants to commit. You say to him, okay, this is your scholarship money, school, room, board, books, all taken care of.
Mhm.
And then because we opted into rev share, you now make another $3,000 a year, $5,000 a year. I mean, I'm not hearing much more than that for wrestling. Whatever it is, but I'm not hearing a whole lot more than that for wrestling. Is that about a crazy number?
Did you say three to $5,000 a year?
Or was it
I would say
yeah,
maybe a month.
a month, a month. I'm sorry. I meant to say a month. I'm sorry. Yes. So $3,000 to $5,000 a month goes to you because we opted into rev share. Okay. So now you have another, let's call it 35 to 60 grand a year that you're getting paid to wrestle. Okay. Now, NIL comes in. How does NIL fit into this rev share universe? Right? Because what I'm hearing is that it has to go through an auditor of some sort to
Yep.
make sure that it's going right.
Yep.
And that is determined through the athletic department or the school itself.
Yep. So yeah, so you're basically going to have 3 buckets now, right? So it's going to be your scholarship, your rev share, whatever your department has allocated to your program, which will differ across the country and it'll differ within the department, depending on what sports they want to support. From a rev share standpoint. And then the third bucket is obviously NIL. So NIL is essentially supposed to come back to what it was intended to be, which is you get a sponsorship deal for meals at a local restaurant. You get a sponsorship deal with someone that owns a car dealership, right? And you represent that car dealership and that you are of value of that deal. And so those deals, all deals above $600 or whatever the limit is are supposed to be submitted to the audit system. and they determine your market value, which is really, this is the part where it's like, you could probably get 1,000 different answers on how are you going to determine market value for, a wrestler based on their social media followers? Is it based off of how good they are? Like, who knows, right? Like that. So it's a
I don't.
very gray area, right? So I don't either, right? So the audit system is one of the bigger question marks on how this is going to work. And then the enforcement, I think, is the other piece where it's like, if you're doing if we're back to like shady NIL deals where people are getting paid a ton of money, the problem was there was no market cap, there's no market value. It was hard to determine how much a 174 pounder is worth to Maryland's program or to whoever's program. If if they have millions of dollars, who's to tell them how to spend it if there's no cap on it, right? There's no market assessment of what you should be able to spend on that person. So in theory, the revenue share that you're getting from the departments is supposed to be that type of money. You use it how you
Right.
want it. You deliver that money how you want it to whoever you want, whether that's all athletes or that's certain athletes that have achieved, certain levels of performance. You want to do a performance-based system? Do you want to use it to get recruits out of high school? And I feel like that's a little bit more risky, where it's like you're unproven. Do you want to give it to your proven team, that someone that's cashed in and capitalized for you? You pay that person out a rev share, and then they can still go get any NIL deal that is within reason of the market value, right? So like the perfect example is like, we have local businesses here where our guys can go and all they have to do is make X amount of social media posts, and they get, free meals for however long. That's NIL. That's true NIL. That's what NIL is supposed to be. So I think that's the goal,
Mhm.
to bring to real NIL to what it was intended to be back, and then to also help you with distributing money, a lot of money that obviously that should be, given to the athletes also. Now,
Mhm.
well, wrestling, or obviously think our sport's the greatest thing, which I agree, right? But like the money doesn't show that, right? So it's like we're not getting, the money that a quarterback is getting for a Division I program. That's not the level
We're
we're
just
on.
not. It's not the same eyeballs. It's just not the same amount of eyeballs. I mean,
Yeah.
I get it.
So it's
Like,
it's 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 reality, right? So like you can't fight
yeah.
it. That's reality there. So um I do think that the intent is good, right? Like the
Mhm.
intent to probably reel things back a little bit and make it a more even playing field is obviously the goal.
Mhm.
And enforcement is going to be the next piece where, you know, are the
Okay.
NIL still happening?
I'm sorry. Can I put a pin in that real quick? Okay.
Yep.
I want you now to poke holes in this theory. Okay. Because I I think about this probably more than I should. Because I'm not a college coach. I shouldn't care. But I know it's going to affect wrestling,
Yeah.
and that I do care about. Okay. Is there a way to emulate Major League Baseball's salary cap in the way of like, okay, I'm a big Yankee fan, right? The Yankees, let's say the salary cap for wrestling, okay? The salary cap for wrestling is three $3 million, okay? If you go over that salary cap, you have to match the amount of money that you go over, and that gets distributed to the lower market teams, right?
Yep.
Is there a way to do that in wrestling, or are we just too cannibalistic?
Probably the latter, I think, in reality, unfortunately.
Oh, good. We
Um,
shot ourselves in the foot
but
again.
yeah, exactly, right? It's like if you want the well-being of the sport, yeah, that's a great model to use, right? Like that's a great way to approach it and how it gets distributed to the smaller schools. Um, I don't know that that will ever happen. I don't know if they'll ever make rules that are, like sport specific based off of like what your market is, like I don't know. And I don't know, maybe if they want to do that for football, then maybe we'll see it in our sport, right? Like that's the way I look at it. Like if they
Sure.
want to keep the landscape of college football in a good place and not have, you know,
The SEC just run away with everything.
exactly,
Sure.
right? Then maybe that's something that they consider for our sport moving forward too. But I feel like now is a hard time to give you a good answer on that because like we haven't even started this model, right? So it's like it's gonna be hard. And I mean, like obviously the rules are in place, but this year will be the first year where it's kind of like in play,
Hmm.
action, and we'll see how it works, right? I think again, this goes back to the enforcement piece. Is like let's see what they do for, if things are still going the way that they were going with the NIL deals and things that were crazy and like astronomical, like are they going to enforce it or how are they going to dictate who's worth what money and go from there, right? Like it's so ever changing that it's like you can't even get too
How
invested.
how do you keep up with it? I'm really asking, and this is where maybe the resources that you have at Maryland at a Big Ten school might be really, really, really valuable, right? Like, yeah, setting up chairs and tables is awesome,
Yeah.
but I need a full-time guy to keep hold of this NIL shit. Like that's important.
Yeah, and that's really like that's like compliance's main thing right now. And we talk with compliance a lot right now. And how to structure your roster and what deals people are on when you include rev share and how that benefits you depending on in-state, out-of-state costs for tuition versus rev share money. These are conversations that are happening daily, if not multiple times a day. Um, so that person or those people in that office, that compliance office, are just getting like they're getting lit up right now, which like I feel for them, but
That's
like
the best way to put it. They are
it's
getting lit up.
I'm sure like think about like how much this is on your mind. Think about how much it's on my mind, how many
Oh,
questions I have like that come through to my head that I just shoot to them, and they have some of those officers up there have 5 sports or 4 sports or whatever it is. So it's like they're just like getting just bombarded with like questions, and it's like
and they
they
probably
they're
don't even
trying,
have all the answers.
they're trying, right? But they don't
Yeah.
have all the answers because the NCAA doesn't have all the answers. So like how
Right.
are they supposed to have all the answers and then us have all the answers? So it's changing. I think the biggest thing you can do, like to answer your question, is to just be fluid and to understand that what you were told last week may be a little different than what you're getting told this week. You have to like and not like push back. Like that's like some people I feel like are like caught in like I can't believe this is happening. Like how could we be doing this? Like this is crazy. This is such a change. Like
That
wrestling,
is a futile. That's a futile thought. That's a
right?
futile thought.
Yeah, it's a slippery slope to go down that, right? Like because it's
Yeah.
it's it's upon us. Like you might as
Doesn't
well
matter.
deal with the change as it comes and make the best of it and figure it out, right? Like the other thing is like you got to think about it. Like you have to spend some time like thinking about what's the best way to do this, ask questions. Like that's constantly what I'm doing. Like, well, if this is happening, then what about this? Or if this happens, then what do we do here? Right? Like there's so many ways you could go. You want to have at least some thought process behind it and how it's going to affect your program or the department as a whole, and ask questions because like if you're not spending time thinking about it or if you're fighting and pushing back against it, like you're behind.
Dead in the water. Dead. You're
Yeah.
dead in the water.
Yep.
Okay. We just spent 40 minutes basically outlining, and truthfully, it takes that long to
Yep.
thoroughly explain. It just does. Okay.
Yep.
All of that. Let's put it in a box over here. When I met you at UTC, I was like, oh, this guy's a gym rat. Yep, this guy's a gym rat. He's a technique nerd. He's a gym rat.
Yep.
We did technique for an hour, and we had a
Yep.
ball.
Mhm.
How do you how do you reconcile with yourself? Now you're an associate head coach. You have to think about this stuff on a very consistent basis. And yet, for most of your life, you were this gym rat that all you cared about was technique and wrestling and all. Like, how do you reconcile that in yourself? Because as a career move, that's suicide now. Like, we talked to Rob Cole and we said, what's the best advice you can give to a brand new head coach? He goes, stop teaching single legs. It don't
Yeah.
matter. You got guys to do that. How do you reconcile both sides of your kind of personality in wrestling?
Yeah, I think um for one, like that part of me will never go away. The part that loves wrestling, coaching wrestling, which is great. I think that's why we do this, right? And but not just like the single leg part either, right? Like developing relationships with the kids, like using wrestling as a tool to develop kids that are eventually men that go out into the real world. Like that's what I love most about our sport. And I tell people all the time, like there isn't a better sport to prepare kids for the future. If you do it right when you're here in your time here, you can be super successful on the mat, and all those same lessons and things that we're teaching help your life when you leave.
Mhm.
So that part I don't think will ever go away. I think the other thing is like your capacity for what you're doing as you get more experience grows, right? So there is room, at UTC I was only really thinking about coaching wrestling or working out, right? Or being like a workout partner, right? But as you get older, like your capacity for what you're doing grows. Like you have to develop skills. You have to you have to like broaden how much you can do. And I think like what you said about Rob Cole, like it does make sense. Like when you're in that role at some point, and I think I deal with a little less of this. This is, obviously an associate head coach title. You're not the head coach, right? Like the head coach is really the one that has to step away from doing the stuff in the mat, like on the mat, like it's in the room. It's just there are people for that, right? You hire the right people, find the right people that you trust to do that. Like your program's okay, right? Your job at that point is to really think about and spend a lot of time and having a lot of conversations where the program is going, where the landscape is going, and figuring out, like I said, how to evolve with it instead of pushing back and saying this is what it should be, right? Like what you think it should be isn't what it is. So
Doesn't matter
it
what
doesn't
you
matter,
think.
right? Like,
Doesn't
yeah,
matter.
you have to evolve with how it's evolving. That I think I'm getting a taste of what that is like, obviously, because I'm, in a position where I do need to be an asset to help think about the way these things are affecting us as a program, as a wrestling program. However, I still have my hands in the stuff that's going on in the room, right? So like to me, I'm in like this fine balance right now of doing some of that stuff and having the capacity to learn it and to grow my skill set there with, obviously intentions of being a head coach someday and knowing that I'm prepared to be in that role. However, I still have the responsibility of running the room primarily, right? And there are days where the other assistants run it. There are some days where Clemmy runs it. Like that's kind of how it is. But I feel like, especially in the last couple years, that's been my baby to be able to develop a workout plan for the day, for the week, for the month, right? For the preseason, the whole year, what it looks like when you're in season versus out of season, summer training, like that's been kind of my wheelhouse. And I love that part of it. But I do know in my role, I have to think about the other things and I have to do the other things. So to me, that's just a challenge, right? So like I tell this to people all the time. When I had one kid, I thought that was like all I could do. And then I had a second kid and I realized like what the hell was I doing with all my time with one kid? Right? Like it's crazy how fast it changes, right? Like you just develop a capacity to do more as you get older, or you learn more things, or you go through more experiences. This is no different to me. It's just another part of coaching wrestling that you have to like lump out in your brain and be like, this needs thought, this needs time, this has conversation. So like So I live an hour away, or roughly, it depends, right, on traffic in this area. I don't know how familiar you are with traffic in the DMV, but it's terrible. But my wife's family is,
The worst in the country.
yeah, so my wife's family is from Virginia, where we live. And so I commute in every day. So I have, morning conversations sometimes, and then afternoon conversations where I just like it may take 30, 40 minutes on the phone with our compliance liaison to kind of hash these things out, but I have that time. So it's like if I'm going to sit in a car, like I'm going to make, whether it's recruiting calls or whether it's, things of this nature, whatever it is, or with alumni, like I talk to people like nonstop, right? Like when I get home, my wife's like, get off your phone, right? Like it's like, this is the way it works, right? So to me, I've developed that capacity to do more on that side and still be able to do this. Like this is my home, like recruiting and running practice, whatever, very comfortable, right? Like this may be the new landscape we're in, maybe a little uncomfortable, but like getting used to it and obviously like spending time thinking about it. That's just part of what you have to do to develop and be prepared for the next level, right? Whether you're
Sure.
trying to get your program to make a jump, or you're, like eventually, if I'm going to be a head coach, that's part of it too, right? So
100%.
I'm in like a happy medium with it, right? Like I deal with it, but like probably not as much as Clemmy does, but we talk all the time too, right? Where it's like we want to be on the same page with how things are trickling down to us. So I do spend a lot of time thinking about it, and it's just been a part of the evolution of coaching, right? Like it's just,
Evolution of coaching wrestling. Let's
yeah,
be honest, right? Because like I said, we talked to Kyle Rochelle yesterday, and Barry Davis did not have to deal with
no,
99.9% of this
no,
stuff when
yeah,
he was at Utah.
yeah. It was like get the best kids you could and coach them up as hard as you could. You know what I
That's
mean?
it.
Like that was like that was the model back then, and now it's a lot more advanced, right? But like you can't fight timing, right? Like you can't control timing. Like things have changed. Like would I have liked to be an athlete in this day and age? Probably. I feel like my bank account would have been in a nice place, right? So like, but I can't control timing, just like I can't control that I'm coaching wrestling now than I wasn't, 20 years ago or 15 years ago. It's like
Sure.
to me, that's wasted thought capacity. Like I have all these other things that I have to figure out right now, like why think about what it could have been or what it should have been. Like it's the way the world works.
Man,
Like things change so much.
you're the best. Dude, this might be one of my favorite podcasts that I've done in a while. Thank you. All right, so let's get to our sprint, unless Joel Shaw has anything else from the gallery.
Bring it home.
Bring it home, the man says, bring it home. Let's bring it home. Don't think about these, just fire as quickly as you can. What is the greatest wrestling shoe of all time?
Oh God. I saw this on all your podcasts before. I feel like I knew I was going to get this answer. So, or this question. And I don't have a great answer. I say the greatest wrestling shoe is the one that's in front of you, that's free, that you
Fair
take
enough.
and you like and it's comfortable. So, but that would be hypocritical of me to say, because we were a Nike school. Like at the end of my tenure at Virginia Tech, like we were a Nike school, and I still wore Asics. Like I just like I couldn't do it. Like I would get yelled at and bitched at by people for, it's like not representing the brand or whatever. So I would cut the ASIC sign off of it, but it was still the same shoe, right? So
Right.
to me, it was like Asics Aggressor since I was in high school. So like the Rulon, and then it turned into the Aggressor, whatever it is. Like that has always been my favorite shoe, and I think that's what I'll have to go with.
There we go. That's a well-placed answer. Okay. We have talked a ton about RevShare, NIL, the changing landscape that is NCAA. I don't even want to say wrestling. I want to say athletics and as a whole, but really what it is the economy around
Yeah,
sports. Do you have a book recommendation that you could say, if you need to understand all this, you should read this?
that has to do with our landscape.
No, just in general, just in general.
Um, yeah, probably Extreme Ownership
Mhm.
by Jocko.
Mhm.
I think so. If you want to lead a program, ultimately, there are no excuses. Like that's what he talks about in the book, and the mindset is as the leader, you take extreme ownership of everything that happens. Obviously, he was a Navy SEAL, and just he's just a freak from mindset standpoint,
Yeah.
like that.
Mhm.
So he I think, and he has worked with, corporations and stuff where their leadership, their C-suite level, and what, some of the hard decisions that go behind, having certain people in that department. Um, yeah, that's it. Yep. So those decisions ultimately fall on the leader or leaders of the program. Obviously, like there's leaders above us, right? Like
Sure.
there's our head AD, there's our associate AD, there's the head coach, there's the associate coach, right? So it goes down. But I think like in any position you're in a leadership role, like in a coaching role, which I'm in, like I have to have that mindset of extreme ownership in what I'm doing. Like if things aren't going well, whether it's recruiting or it's something technically on the mat or whatever it may be, like that ultimately is like me, right? And I feel that, and I think based off of what the landscape is, right? And this is similar to what I've talked about. Basically, the whole message of this is like you have to be fluid and you have to evolve and figure these things out. And if you're pointing fingers like nonstop, like it should be like this, or it should be, it's their fault or whatever it is, like it's not going to get you anywhere. Like at some point, you have to take ownership of what is going on, how you're handling it, how you're communicating it to others, how you're making changes, and being fluid with your people, or you like even like a simple something as simple as like your training for the week may start on Monday looking like certain thing, and it turns into something else based off of what you're seeing. Right. So being able to evolve and take ownership of, like this was the plan I had. That was a shitty plan. We should adjust next week. Right. Like that's a simple thing. Right. And I think the whole message of that book, he's got a ton of examples of companies that he's worked with, or like actual like combat examples of, him, or there's another person that helped write it, that they went through and what it looked like for their group and who was in charge. And I think at the end of the day, it's like, if you're able to think about the world and about your industry that way, or your business, whatever it is, where you have extreme ownership, it's very it's like very freeing, because you're the one ultimately that can do as much work, whatever. But if your team doesn't see it that way, and that hasn't been communicated correctly, and you're not living that, then it doesn't work. And
Good
so
luck.
yeah. And so that's one of the actually that book's been recommended a couple times. And then I had one of my former student athletes, he just graduated this year. This kid's awesome. He actually just finished. He ran an ultra marathon, 100 miles out in Montana. Yeah, I know. So, and he's crazy, but he's awesome. He helped me build a deck in my backyard. Like he's handy. He's got a good job now lined up. He's an awesome human being. And he was like ultimately like the one that got me like over the edge to, like, because I'd heard the book a couple times, and
Mhm.
so that's, yeah, a recent read for me.
Yeah. Yeah, he's out this way too, Jocko. His daughter wrestles.
Oh, really?
Start. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So he has a daughter that got into the sports, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Okay, you only get four. They got to be American. Who is on your Mount Rushmore of wrestling?
All right, so JB, obviously.
Hmm.
Um, I'd say probably Bruce has to be on there.
Okay.
John Smith would be
Hmm.
three.
Hmm.
And my fourth. Is there four on Mount Rushmore?
Yes.
Wow. I'm probably there's probably some older names that like I'm like I'm 33, so I might like, I don't know if I'll piss people off if you give it like a younger name just because that's like recency bias. What do you guys all have your take?
Yes. I'm not going to share it right now, but go ahead.
Joel tuned in there. He wants to share. Come on.
No, I was gonna say the same thing. This is your podcast episode.
Um,
The seat's getting hot.
yeah. I don't know. I'd have to like literally research it. Like, I don't want to give a bad answer. Like, I don't want to like. I feel pretty
Okay.
good. I feel good about those three. God, I don't want to. I want to stay with three.
No, you got to choose four.
Who's your fourth?
Okay. For
Did
me,
I, do
I,
you have those
okay.
three? Do you have those three?
No, 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 no. So here's my big thing about this. It's to me, it's the impact on the sport. So if this person fell to the ground, they would make the biggest crater.
That's
Okay.
fair. Mhm.
Okay. So
Mine, yeah,
for
mine.
me,
I feel like mine was really like at a like a world like level like career, and then like
for
like
sure,
total world level, right? So
that's great. That's wonderful. To me, the answer is very, very simple. John Smith, Dan Gable, Jordan Burroughs, Cale Sanderson. Here's why. Gable, yes, won an Olympic gold medal, but the impact that he had on the sport through coaching was seismic. Okay,
yeah,
just seismic. John Smith, yes, won six in a row. That's awesome, but his impact on technique and the styles of wrestling, seismic. JB, yes, seven world titles is amazing. That's awesome. His impact on pulling the sport into the 21st century, seismic. And then Kale, through not just wrestling, college wrestling, like he kind of like started the juggernaut that is the NCAA tournament, right? Like people really started to like tune in to see the NCAA tournament at that point, and then coaching and what he's done with coaching, seismic.
yeah,
So for me, it's not just about winning medals, and that has to be a part of it. But
yeah.
to me, the impact is the important part. So go ahead. You need
I,
a
s-
fourth.
I, I stand with three. I think I feel good about three.
Fair enough. All
I
right.
changed Mount Rushmore to three.
All right. We're just putting a crater there. Okay. Very good.
Maybe the fourth
You
is
go
in the
back.
you know.
Huh?
I said maybe the fourth is in the making right now. You never know. So
There you go. Okay. Um, you get a magic wand. You get to change one thing about the sport of wrestling. What is it?
in any capacity,
Any capacity. Yeah.
headgear optional. Does that work?
It's
I
so
mean,
stupid.
it's simple answer, but I think it's the dumbest thing ever. Like, I mean, look at my ears. Like, I didn't wear a headgear in practice, or like, unless there were days where dresser was like, can't win it. What did he used to say? Can't win a national title without a headgear. Or something. That's what he would say. I'm like, well, just because I took my headgear off
Okay.
late practice, whatever. Yeah. So it's like, but like most practices, you're not wearing headgear. Like, I just think like it's your ears. Like we know what the problem is. Like every time, I swear, like I actually feel good about this answer too. I'll be honest. Like there's probably some other like really
Good. You
in
should.
things that like we could like talk about, but like to me, this one every time, every year, the rule changes come up. And I'm like, how did the headgear thing not pass again? Like, I just can't believe it. Like, it's just like, and then you have a case where, this is like, this is a serious rule change, right? Like, a case with Dayton Fix and Suriano in the finals. And it's like a headgear
Mhm.
pull, like he stopped wrestling because of the headgear pull, right? Like if that headgear doesn't exist, we either see the same outcome and we don't see like like we don't see like like a blame game, right? Like Dayton's like, hey, he stopped wrestling for a sec, like he pulled his headgear or whatever it was. So you don't see that, or maybe the outcome does actually change, and like there's a different national title, and that means a lot in our sport, obviously. So that from like an actual rule standpoint, like I go back to that case at the highest level with two of the best guys. Why did it come down to like one guy said he grabbed my headgear? It's like
we actually made rules around the rule that is the simplest to fix.
Yeah,
It's not saving anyone's life.
It's unbelievable. And then they're like, you can't put tape on it. And then it's like all these crazy things. I'm like, what does it matter? Like, and it's not a helmet. It's not doing anything from like a concussion standpoint. If you want to wear headgear with the little pad on it for concussion stuff, whatever, go for it. Like that's your thing, right? Like those guys that were wearing the halos, like in the like NFL season, that's their thing. Like,
yeah.
The helmet itself in football is supposed to help, with concussion. Like that's not, the headgears aren't doing that. There's no like health benefit other than our ears. That's like our choice. But look around at anyone you had on this podcast, their ears look as bad as mine, if not probably worse, so.
Yeah. Dude, speaking the truth, Nick Brascetta, thank you so much, brother. I appreciate you coming on and spending some time with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
All right, brother. I'll talk to you. Wait. Don't go anywhere before you hit that next button. If you enjoyed listening to this episode, do us a huge favor. Click that subscribe button. And if you're so inclined, leave a review and share it.